Hello, family. Happy Tuesday. I just wanted to come and just give you guys a word of encouragement because I know that if I needed it, somebody else needed it as well. So I just want to give you guys, I won't be before you long, but just tell someone that you got to hold on to your faith. You have to hold on to your faith. I woke up this morning and I felt kind of bogged down. I felt kind of confined. I felt kind of like all over the place. Like my mind was going from one thought to the next thought, to one worry to the next worry. And I went to go get me some coffee. And I've been taking my biggest thing is taking a ride. Like I love taking rides to just clear my mind because like I told you guys, I like to be out in the creation and just spend time with God. Like I can drive and literally be focusing on what God is telling me and focusing on what I'm telling the Lord, and just hone in on what it is that he's saying. So I went for a ride this morning when it got me a coffee, and then I was like, well, I am kind of hungry because yesterday I haven't really been eating much, and I didn't even realize it. Like yesterday, that's how bad my mind and the things that I'm seeing has been like trying to just overtake me. Like I didn't even realize I ate breakfast, but I did not eat lunch and I did not eat dinner. And then I end up eating dinner at like 12 o'clock because I was like, why am I so hungry? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't eat. Like, how do you forget that you don't eat? But that's just how much I've been focused on the wrong things. And so this morning I got up, I got me another breakfast biscuit, got me a coffee, and I pulled up after I got my coffee, I went to Chick-fil-A. I pulled up to Chick-fil-A. And so I'm on the way to Chick-fil-A. Obviously, when I got in the car to go get my coffee and, whatever, I'm already praying and talking to the Lord and just downloading, telling him, everything that I'm feeling. Obviously, he already knows this, but I'm just saying it out loud. I'm kind of just having a moment. And so I pulled up into Chick-fil-A and I looked and seen that obviously there were 2 lanes open, but one of the lanes was empty and I didn't realize it. And I was like, oh, it was too late for me to get over. So I ended up just continuing to pull up where I was because I'm like, well, I'm already in this spot. So I pull up or whatever. So I get my order, pay for my order, and then I drive up to wait for my food. So as I'm sitting there in the line, I was like, dang, I should have really got in that lane. And then I look up at the truck behind me. You know how like cars have like the stickers on their window? Like I have a sticker on my window. But cars have like the stickers and stuff. So the car in front of me, it was a truck and it was a man standing with armor and he had one knee on the ground and it said "Got faith." So I look up and I see, the sticker with the man with armor on. He's like kneeled down. His fist is like touching the ground or whatever. And it says "Got faith?" ? And so I instantly like wanted to break down because I'm like, oh my God, like, I noticed at that moment, I'm like, it's a faith issue. I'm questioning again, like, is God really going to do this? Like, I know he did it last time, and I know he did the time for that, but this time, there is really there's no possible way that the impossible can be made possible, because at this point, I've exhausted all my options, or, I've done the best I could, so I don't know where this, how these things are going to happen, and so, I'm driving off and I'm just like, I was like, Lord, it was meant for me to drive up behind that car because I needed to hear that, I needed to hear that. I needed to hold on to my faith. And so, as I'm driving and I start talking about that, I'm like, God, you always know how to show up and how to give us those reminders to let us know that you are God. All we have to do is be still and know that you are God, to put it in your hand, to hold on to that mustard seed of faith, to keep your commandments, and hold on to faith, and don't worry about what we see, but worry about what you said. And so that's what I wanted to encourage you today, to just remember what God spoke to you. Remember that God is a God of impossible made possible. Man cannot do it, but God can. So if you've done what God's told you to do, sit and know that God will take care of the rest. And I know that's hard because I'm living it every day, but I tell you what, I don't regret any decision that I've made in my life. Has this journey been hard? Yes. But as I consistently move forward, I learned how to consistently rely on God. We go from being fully reliant on ourselves or a job or people or places or things to fulfill us. And now we have to really be relying on who our help comes from. And our help comes from God. So I just wanted to come on and encourage you to hold on to your faith. Regardless of who says what, regardless of who says anything about your journey, who questions what God is doing in your life. Like I told you guys before, when God called you, it was not a 3-way call. So don't worry about people pleasing. Worry about pleasing God. Whatever you do, remember that it needs to please God, not pleasing man. Don't worry about what man says, because man can't get you in those pearly gates. It won't get you to heaven. The only person who can get you that is through the Son. When you go through the Son, you get to the Father. So worry about pleasing God, not pleasing this world. So whatever God has told you, you stand on it regardless of who comes up against that. And you tell them like Jesus told them, get thee behind me, Satan. You got to rebuke that because that's the enemy. If somebody comes up to you and tell you something that goes against God's will for you, then you have to rebuke that and stand against it because you know what God spoke. And it's easy sometimes for us to forget, but when God shows up and he gives you that big confirmation, that has been the thing that I've been holding on to. I'm like, okay, Lord, I remember the last time I was here, you was like, you yelled at me. Like you made it clear what your plans were and what you spoke. So I hold on to that. And it's moments like that, like just remember when your parents discipline you, when you did something as a child and your mother yelled at you, or, you got a severely scarred. I remember when I was younger, I don't know how old I was, but I remember it. So I had to be probably about 6, 7, or 8. Somewhere up in there, y'all. I don't know. But I remember my mom and my dad, because they were married at the time, had a kerosene heater. We lived out on the west side or whatever. And I remember I was so curious about what this thing was. And my dad kept telling me, don't touch it, don't touch it. My mama said, don't touch it, don't touch it. And I was just like, I kept walking past it. And I would like, every time I walked past it, I would like place my hand over the top of it. But I never set my hand down because I was remembering like, okay, don't touch it. My mama said, don't touch it. My daddy said, don't touch it. But in my mind, I kept saying, well, why I can't touch it? Why they don't want me to experience this? What is it? Like, I was so curious. And so we had plans to go to Chuck E. Cheese that day, right? So I ended up, like, I was ready. My mama had just did my hair. She was getting my brothers ready. I think they were getting ready or whatever. I don't forget. We were going to Chuck E. Cheese for something. And I ended up just saying, you know what? I'm going to go for it. So, y'all, if y'all know what a kerosene heater is, y'all know them things get hot. I placed my whole hand on the top of that kerosene heater. My hand was swole for days. I couldn't play at Chuck E. Cheese. I cried the whole time. I had to take like a Ziploc bag of ice. I had to stick my hand in a bowl of water, cold water or warm water, to like not shock it, but just like when I tell you my hand was so swollen, like I couldn't move. Like just thinking about my hand is just like tensing up. But I will never forget that day. But I learned my lesson that when your parents tell you no, just know that it's for a good cause. So when the Father says no, it's to protect you from something you can't see. Don't be so curious to put your hand on fire and get burned. Y'all, I will never forget that day. I remember also, now this one has like a physical scar. There's a little like indentment on my right hand, and I'm always reminded of this because I'm right-handed, and people always ask, well, what happened? And I can tell the story to this day. I remember we was getting ready to go to daycare. My mom was getting ready to take me to daycare. I didn't want to go, and I got an attitude, and I was upset. So you know how as kids, and I was younger at this age. I was younger than 6. I don't forget I was younger, but I remember this day, and I remember I didn't want to go to daycare, and I didn't want to do anything, and I remember just and so I ended up like falling out or doing something, and I knocked over the ironing board with the iron on it, and the iron fell on my hand. And so it didn't like swell my whole hand, but it like hit one little piece of my hand, and then I had like this big old huge like pus filled bump, and it was like you couldn't touch it, like it was just swollen. And I had to go to daycare like that because mom was like, you chose to be bad, you chose to, this was like way before the kerosene thing, but I was younger, so I was just like, I'm going to throw my little tantrum, my little toddler tantrum or whatever. I don't know how old I was, but I remember it. And I'm always reminded of it because I see it on my hand, It's been there with me ever since it happened. So it's moments like that where I remember we have to just not throw tantrums and get upset and catch an attitude and say, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do anyway. Because we still end up getting hurt in the midst of being disobedient to what God has called us. So whatever God is telling you to do, please be obedient. Trust the word that God spoke over your life. Hold on to your faith, regardless of who's telling you whatever looks like. Hold on to your faith because God is the God of impossible made possible. He is your mountain mover, and remember where your help comes from. It doesn't come from yourself. It doesn't come from your family, your friends, this world. It comes from the God of the universe. It comes from the above, the Father of creation. He is the creator. So remember to always keep him at the forefront. Seek the kingdom before you do anything. If you don't have peace about it, don't move on it. But if it's fear that's driving you away from making the right decision, then continue to seek and ask, and God will provide. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you on the next message. Bye.